coming out with updates on the NYC shooting and the Reno shooting. This is the NYC shooting. Let's get into it.
Now with the very latest highlight.
Yeah, hi there, Antoine. First of all, the building here at 345 Park Avenue remains closed today, and I'm going to have our cameraman, Mauro Bertoli, go ahead and push in because it's all glass. You know, floor going up to, or the first floor going up to the second floor, it's all glass. And you can see one of the glass fronts there totally shattered, and you can see the bullet holes. You can see the bullet holes in the window. Now, obviously, this investigation is clearly underway, and it involves Las Vegas authorities as well. The mayor earlier today saying on Good Day New York that they are sending 2 teams who are already on the way to Las Vegas to, number 1, execute a search warrant at the suspect's home, and number 2, find out more information about the gun permit that he had and the guns. He had more than 1 gun in his possession. Now go ahead and take a look at this video from yesterday. This happened about 6:30 last night at 345 Park Avenue. The first person killed, sadly, was NYPD officer Didarul Islam, who was providing security for the office building. We have a picture of that officer, that slain officer. This city is mourning today with his family, and he never had a chance once that suspect walked in to that building. Now the suspect, go ahead and take a look at this. We do have his picture at this time. 27-year-old Shane Tamura of Las Vegas. He drove across the country, leaving on Saturday and arriving in New York yesterday. That is according to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. He had parked his BMW near the building, got out, and walked along Park Avenue. As these surveillance pictures, hopefully you are seeing them right now, surveillance pictures show him carrying the long, high-powered AR-15 style gun right next to him. Now, again, the mayor speaking about this horrific rampage earlier today. Here's part of what he had to say.
He alluded to having CTE from playing in the NFL. He never played in the NFL. He appeared to have gone to the wrong floor and to the wrong elevator bank. What you can see on the front desk, which elevator bank was the NFL, but he did not go to that bank. He appeared to have some history, mental health history, from what we knew from our partners in the Nevada, Las Vegas.
This kind of stuff, you can train all you want, but it's the once in a blue moon that actually happens.
We have a society in which guns are everywhere and people are murdered, and we say thoughts and prayers and we move on and the next incident happens.
Now you heard the mayor talking about the NFL there. That's because the suspect apparently left a suicide note in the vehicle in which he was talking about apparently having CTE, that severe brain injury, and he was lambasting the NFL and talking as though he had played for the NFL, but he apparently never did. The NFL has headquarters in this building, and that's apparently why he was here. That's what they believe the motive is at this point, but he ended up getting on the wrong elevator bank and going up to the wrong floor. Now, new information, as you can imagine, because this is still developing, it is still continuing to come in. The names and the pictures of some of the other victims. I want you to go ahead and take a look here. This is one of the other victims. The pictures have been released. One is Wesley LePatner. She worked for BlackRock, which is a major financial company, international financial company. Also, Alain Etienne, he is a security officer. He was killed as well. He had worked for one of the major unions here in the city, 32BJ. And then we do not have a picture, but we have the name of another victim. Her name is Julia Hyman. She worked for Rudin, which is a real estate company, a major real estate company here in the city. And also the NFL is confirming excuse me, that one of its employees was critically injured in that shooting yesterday and remains in the hospital at this time. Antoine?
Linda, before you go, we know in situations like this, there's a sense of shock. Have you been able to gauge that as you've been looking at the faces of the people that are walking by as this is starting to settle in, as opposed to when you were there last night?
Totally different feel here today right now, Antoine, because this is an extremely busy area. I've got to take this out, I'm hearing myself. It's an extremely busy area, lots of financial institutions here. People are out, they are walking around and going to and from their businesses, and they are walking to lunch. You have tourists in this area as well. Earlier today, our colleague Lisa Everts spoke to some of the folks here, and of course, naturally, anybody that works in this area, it is on their mind today. But people are continuing with their lives. Now, if you worked in this building, I would imagine your feeling about this today is much different. But if you work next door or across the street, people are coming and going. They are going to work. And like I said, they are living their lives. Let me go ahead. Let me put my AirPod back in. I'm sorry. I had to take that out because I can hear myself talking.
No, we get it. Thank you so much for that report. We'll see you at 5. As we mentioned earlier, among the victims is NYPD Officer General Islam, who was working paid security detail when he was shot in the lobby. His community in the Bronx now in mourning. Fox 5's Richard Giacobas continues our team coverage from Rochester.
Antoine, we are waiting the dignified transfer of Officer Islam's body, which is expected to depart the medical examiner's office later this afternoon before being taken past the 47th precinct here in the Bronx and then over to the Mosque and Funeral Home. A mosque where Officer Islam spent many of his days in prayer. This whole community is mourning along with the city this afternoon. Officer Islam was a provider for his family here in the Rochester section of the Bronx, remembered as a pillar and mentor. The 36-year-old was part of New York's finest for 3.5 years. Much of that time was spent at the 47th precinct. An immigrant from Bangladesh who came to America with a dream to build a better life for his family. Officer Islam was married with 2 children. His wife, we were told by family members, expecting a 3rd child. She was due next month. He encouraged them to join the police force, encouraging other men here in this community to join the police force as traffic agents rather than patrol officers, because he said it was safer. But when it came to his family, his cousin says Officer Islam was the perfect father who cared deeply about his children and their well-being.
I was very upset from that news. So, actually, we're not going to fix hospital. This two young men, he has children, one is maybe 8, 9, and youngest one is 4 years old. I heard all those, like, the kids crying, so it was very sad. Just like, my neighbor right here, she's a neighbor, she's close by. She used to, just like watching him, around here. So, it's not my family, but I really feel bad when I heard the news. It was very sad.
And we are outside of Officer Islam's home here where his family remains. NYPD Community Affairs officers in patrol have closed off the street here. As they've had to close for much of the morning and afternoon hours as they possibly await for the officer's body to be brought past here. We're not sure the exact route, but of course we'll bring you that dignified transfer when it happens. Another note worth mentioning from that officer's cousin, who said that Officer Islam is an only child, and when his father heard the news last night that his son was no longer with him, he suffered a massive stroke and is now in the hospital, as if it can't get any more heartbreaking.
Richard, there are no words. Thank you for that report. Developing news also now, everybody, as more than 150 million Americans from the Florida coast along the Northeast are under warnings for heat or heat advisories, and people of all ages are just simply trying to find ways to cool off as life-threatening heat set.
Okay. Now, shout out to Fox 5 New York. I want to go down here to Law and Crime and play what they got for us. Shout out to Law and Crime.
We are tracking brand new information on the man police say opened fire on a Midtown Manhattan high-rise, allegedly targeting NFL headquarters. Law enforcement now swarming his home in Las Vegas after he killed at least 4 people.
How did you guys come through?
we definitely have to say this. Not only is there the video of his past life as a football player, we're hearing from people who know him as they come to grips with the reality that he is a killer. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We're getting a clear picture today of the man police say opened fire in the Midtown Manhattan high-rise because he claims he suffered from mental illness. That suspect is Shane Tamura. He was 27 years old. Yesterday he was seen in this surveillance image posted by several media outlets on X, walking into a prevalent high-rise armed with an assault rifle right around the time so many people would be in the lobby ready to go home for the day. This picture is just chilling. You just look at how lackadaisical he is. He has sunglasses on. He has that rifle by his side as he's just steps away from causing so much terror, so much pain, and so much trauma inside. Before I get to what people who know Shane Tamura are saying about the reality of what played out in Manhattan yesterday, let's break down the facts as we know them at this point. It was just before 6:30 yesterday evening that Tamura stepped out with a double-parked BMW armed with an M4 rifle, walked to 345 Park Avenue. Here's what New York's police commissioner says happened next.
An individual was seen exiting the BMW alone. The building security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire.
The commissioner says that the shooter then made his way to the 33rd floor of the building. Once there, he walked through the office, firing rounds. Tamura killed one person on that floor. In total, he would kill 4 people. At the time of this reporting, there was a 5th person who was in the hospital in critical but stable condition. Tamura took his own life on the 33rd floor. Here's an image of the steps people took to protect themselves. This is in an office where people used furniture to block a door just in case a shooter came to them. Mayor Eric Adams said that this building also had some safety measures like bulletproof bathroom doors that some people were able to use. Now this is video that was posted to X of authorities searching Tamura's car outside 345 Park. Police say that he drove cross country from Las Vegas, that's where he lived. The car was registered to him out of Nevada. Inside the BMW, officers found a rifle case with rounds, a loaded revolver with ammunition and magazines, a backpack and medication that was prescribed to Shane Tamura. Now here are images of Tamura's home in Las Vegas. It is a gated community. Local media is reporting that he lived with his parents. Vegas police were at his home through the night investigating. Now this is a picture that I found posted by one of Tamura's relatives on Facebook. And you can see Tamura here. This was in the fall of last year this picture was posted. It seems that he has a name tag on, might have been at some kind of family reunion. NYPD officers tracked his travel to New York from Vegas. They say he drove through Colorado on Saturday, then entered New York City just a couple of hours before the shooting. Police in Las Vegas say that Tamura had a history of mental health issues.
I want to be very clear. We believe this to be a lone shooter, and there is no longer an active threat to the public.
At the news conference last night, the police commissioner did not have a motive, but today we are learning more about why he did this. Here's what New York City Mayor Eric Adams told Fox 5 in New York this morning about a note that the shooter left behind.
He alluded to having CTE from playing in the NFL. He never played in the NFL. And he alluded to the CTE being the reason for his illness. It appears as though he was going after the employees at the NFL, the building. 345 housed the NFL's company there as well.
CTE, if you follow football, you probably know it. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's a brain disease likely caused by repeated concussions, according to the Mayo Clinic. Now, there have been concerns about football players suffering from CTE over the years, but even with more people knowing about CTE, even the Mayo Clinic says there still is so much we don't know about the disease and what causes it. I want you to more data to truthfinder.com. The address that police in Las Vegas are continuing to search came up tied to tomorrow. Also, I didn't see anything on there as far as any previous criminal events. At Law and Crime, we partner with TruthFinder, and we use it to get details on the people who are involved in our stories like this one. But even if you don't work in true crime, this can be an excellent resource, give you some peace of mind, and it's one of the largest public records search services in the United States. And with a paid subscription service, you get access to unlimited reports about almost anyone. And right now, you can get 50% off your first month. Confidential background reports. Just go to truthfinder.com/OTC. The New York Post was that note the mayor was talking about said in part, quote, please study the brain for CTE. I'm sorry, the league knowingly concealed the dangers to our brains to maximize profits. They failed us. And quote, again, Shane Tamora never played in the NFL. The NFL's address lists its corporate offices to be on the 5th floor of the building. The mayor said that Tamora went up to the 33rd floor because he went to the wrong elevator bay in the building, not the one that would actually get him to the NFL's offices. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said that one of the league's employees was seriously injured in the attack but is now in stable condition. We are still working to learn more about Shane Tamora's background, but you know that he played high school football.
How did you guys come through? We definitely had to take this. We were down 10-0. We definitely had to take this. First they're saying, don't put your head down, don't put your head down. We just had to take this one and come together.
This is a video that was posted to YouTube by Daily News Prep Sports 9 years ago. It has since gone viral because it shows Tamora after a game he was playing high school football in the Los Angeles area. Now, it doesn't appear that he went on to even play college football, and again, he never played in the NFL, even though Mayor Adams says in that note, he claims to have contracted CTE by playing pro ball. Now, this image is also going viral on social media of a concealed firearms permit. We're learning that Tamora had a permit to carry a concealed firearm by the Las Vegas Police Department. ABC News is also reporting getting now expired work card by the Nevada Private Investigators Licensing Board. Why was this man, who had, according to police, such serious mental health issues, allowed to get that concealed carry permit?
Whoa. Wait a minute. Pause. They have to give this guy a concealed carry license. And they have proof that this guy had mental illness, and they gave him a concealed weapons permit. Women, not permit. They gave him a concealed weapons license, and this guy had mental illness. And y'all wonder why people talk about gun control. This is why.
Registered to him. Those are questions that we are all trying to figure out right now. As far as those who knew Shane Tamora, his former high school football coach spoke to NBC News. Walter Rope said that Tamora was a great football player who, quote, came in, worked hard, kept his nose down. He was a quiet kid, well-mannered, very coachable. Whatever needed to be done, he would do. His former classmate told NBC, quote, you never would have thought violence was something you'd associate with him. Everything was a joke. Something clearly happened in his life over the last decade. But what's clear is that he took the lives of people who should still be here today. And that includes the NYPD officer.
Today, 4 innocent victims are dead. Among them, NYPD police officer Didarul Islam, 36 years old, 4 years on the job. Officer Islam was married with 2 young boys. His wife pregnant with their 3rd child. He's assigned to the 4-7 precinct in the Bronx. He was doing the job that we asked him to do. He put himself in harm's way. He made the ultimate sacrifice. Shot in cold blood, wearing a uniform that stood for the promise that he made to this city.
Joining us now is retired NYPD Detective Tom Smith. He's also the co-host of the Gold Shields podcast. It's always great to have you on Law and Crime. I know a lot of heavy hearts with those connected to the New York Police Department today. At this point in the investigation, it's not even 24 hours after this happened, where is your mind in some of the main questions that you'd like to see answered?
Yeah, I mean, me as an investigator, a detective, is going into the full background of this individual and just see where this started, what sparked it, what was the prelude to it, you know, the planning stages, you know, all of that. Because listen, as much as we are pretty sure he's alone, we want to make sure of that. We want to make sure there's no outlining factors in this or anyone else who might have known about it, tried to stop
Exactly.
having communication with him, anything like that. All of that has to be vetted out, and that's the reason for.
But how
the search
come
warrant
didn't
being
no one
conducted
engage him
those
on the
bases.
street,
We want to
though?
get all the pertinent information about him, his digital, his computers, anything he owns, to make sure A, no one else is involved, B, how did this and why this started.
Yeah, and to your point, it doesn't seem like we've learned a lot yet about a digital footprint that he might have had. We're learning a little bit that he lived in LA, played high school football out there. There's this note that was reportedly left behind, and according to Eric Adams, he was targeting NFL headquarters, which is in that building. He may have just gone to the wrong floor. When I think for many people, we might look at that and say, there's the motive, that's why he was going for it. As an investigator, how do you find the motive to officially reach that point?
Yeah, you just keep digging. You go on that lead and you just expand on that. And you go into other avenues or interviews of family members, friends, anyone he might have worked with, and see what the conversations were with him. Did he ever mention CTE before? Former coaches, you know, anyone who had to do with him where this might have been a factor. But let's get something straight, Chris. You know, there's one thing to be, you know, ill or have a problem. It's something else to premeditated, think about and plan driving across the country with an M4, targeting a building, and then going in, and before you kill yourself, which was the plan, and shooting himself in the chest, you take out everyone in front of you. So, yeah, there's an issue with the CTE story, but let's be real about, you know, there's other ways that this could have been done instead of
Exactly.
taking out a police officer, 5 other people, and another officer that shot fighting for his life.
Yeah, and he shot also one of the female victim in the lobby was hiding. Police said behind it. This was not someone caught in the crossfire of something else. And I'm happy you brought up that point about driving across the country because I know the commissioner had said that they knew that he was in Colorado on Saturday, that he had left his home. He was in New Jersey around 4:30 in the afternoon, and then the shots were fired in New York around 6:30. How do you separate, because there is this CTE part of it, and I get it, but this does, to your point, that looks like intent over the course of several days, not to mention the fact that there was, you know, at any point in time, he could have pulled over, stopped, and recognized that this was not a good idea.
Absolutely right. You know, it takes a lot of evilness in your body to drive for 3 or 4 days and still have that rage in you to perpetuate this crime. And keeping to the game plan all that ride, you know, by yourself. At some point, like you said, reality never set into him and he went, hold on a minute, what am I doing? You know, he just kept going with the plan and he carried it out, and it's just a waste of you know, human life, and these poor people who are just working and just trying to make a living. And like you said, all the indications are he even went to the wrong floor. So those people weren't even the initial target of his rage and ended up losing their lives.
I saw one media outlet in Vegas. They believe that location out 27 years old, he's not a kid. But what are some of the big questions that the parents are going to face? Because he was gone several days. He lived in this home.
Absolutely, and like that's what I said about interviews. You're going to interview the parents, friends, other family members. What were the conversations before he left? Did he mention anything? You know, all of that is going to be, you know, part of the investigation. And even though this is done, he's dead, the victims are gone, and other people are injured, the investigation is still going to go on because you
Of
need
course.
the answers to so many
And
questions.
as it should
that's going to
go
be one
on.
of them. Did the parents try calling him while he was en route here? What was that conversation like? You know, so there's a lot that's going to be going on with this, and you know, the parents could face a little heat if they knew about this or the conversation was, I'm going to take care of this or whatever it might have been, and then not notifying any authority figures. So that's what I mean by a continued investigation.
And as far as heat, I mean, I think of, you know, we often bring this up sadly in these types of cases. Ethan Crumbley out in Michigan, his parents ended up getting charged. down here in Georgia, Winder, the shooting at Appalachian High School with Colin Ray, Cole Craig. The father's facing charges, even though he's 27 years old, he's a grown man. But if he's living at home, he's known to have mental health issues, and he was known to have firearms. He just disappears. Is that a crime if you, as a parent or someone who knew this person, didn't report anything?
I gotta pause this. As a person with no mental health issues, this man should never been around or near any weapons whatsoever. I don't understand how in the world did this guy get a concealed to carry license. It baffles me. I honest to God do not understand it.
Yeah, I mean, crime would have to really be looked into as far as the knowledge of what he was going to do, and that's going to be the compelling factor in it. Did they actually know what he was planning and where he was going? If not, that might be tough to single them out with those charges, but it still has to be answered, those questions of what was he like, what was going on in the home. Like you said, even though he's 27 years old, conversations still take place, and people have a responsibility if they have knowledge of a future crime to let the police know about it.
He had a concealed carry permit out of Las Vegas Metro Police, and everybody at this point has probably seen that image that's been circulating of that concealed carry permit in his wallet. What are some of the questions that will go into the investigation of figuring out how he, according to the commissioner of the New York Police Department, he had documented mental health issues, yet was still able to get this firearms?
Yeah, well, they're going to look into the application process and the, going after or acquiring a permit in Las Vegas. What are the parameters? What interviews have to be conducted with that? What background checks are done when you're applying for a pistol permit? One of those questions, I'm sure, is have you had any mental health issues throughout your life? Because that's one of the questions here in New York. So if that's on there, it's going to be interesting to see what he checked off, and if any other background investigation was done before he was issued that permit.
ABC News just came down with this at the time of the reporting. It was just a line in one of their stories that in June, someone had reported a tip after a gun show in Vegas because he had bought a large amount of ammunition. Hindsight can always be 20/20, but what is the process of when a tip comes in of figuring out whether or not someone is actually a risk when they make a purchase at a gun show or something seems out of the ordinary?
Yeah, sure. It's interviewing the person who made the call and the tip of why it was done, what took place, what were the conversations that kind of raised you to a suspicious level to call the police about one particular person. We say it all the time, whereas see something, say something. So that's what we've done. Something triggered this individual to make a phone call, but then it's going to be interesting to see what investigators did with that, what interviews were conducted, what background checks were conducted. So that may all come out as well as far as that goes. And we're going to see what was done with that investigation and what came out of it.
And kind of just going back to the mental health part of it, because it's just, everybody's angry today seeing this story. And I just think we've talked about CTE. There are a lot of players who sadly have struggled with CTE. Dave Dorson was someone I remember who played safety for the Bears. He ended up taking his own life. There's a lot of people who have had very sad endings to their lives with CTE, but they were not mass shooters. How, just from an investigative side of it, you've dealt with people who have had serious mental health issues in their career, and I think you see a lot of people say it was the CTE that did it. Like, I can't remember someone who had CTE who committed a crime like this person did commit yesterday in New York.
No, absolutely. And in my mind, it has to be separated. It has to be two separate things. Yes, you can suffer what CTE can do, absolutely. And we've all seen it, like you said, with NFL players. The most notable, Junior Seau. Junior Seau actually took his own life because he believed he had CTE. And like this individual did, shot himself in the chest, so his brain was intact that they could check it out. There's other ways to go about getting help and bringing awareness to this, and this was not it. So, like I said, you have to separate the two of them. with a medical issue and then being a mass murderer.
Eric Adams also said to the mayor of New York that NYPD teams were going to be sent to Las Vegas because there's a lot of work to be done at the house there, and they're trying to figure out exactly what this suspect's life was like and what led up to this. But at the same time, you have this very large crime scene at 345 Park Avenue. What more is there to be done in that building moving forward?
Any evidence that you might want to collect. And as far as the Las Vegas part goes, with detectives going out there, that's important because you want to make sure there's no connections to New York. You know, if anyone else he talked to there, you know, maybe he didn't Google the location. Maybe someone told him where that location was. You know, so there's a lot of information that has to be done. And I'm sure other, you know, the video evidence, unfortunately, is gruesome, but that has to be collected and analyzed as far as what he did and where he was in that building. Did he look lost? Was that floor the